What's going on, golf fans? It's your boy Gsluke here with our round 3 prop stream for the Wyndham Championship. It got ourselves a weird slate with that weather delay pushing the round into today, but gonna make sure you're ready for all of your exposure and the prop boards when we get them here in a minute. We've got sites scrambling to get their projections up, which usually gives us some pretty good value. When those lines makers have to work quicker, well, they make quite a few mistakes. So for the matchup market, when we get those on the sports books, gonna deep dive here for all of you guys, and also on Underdog and Prize Picks, assuming that we're going to get some extra props there too. Going to break all of that down for you as well. But any sort of questions that you've got, feel free to let me know. We're going to go through averages, stat averages as well, and weather for the rest of today. We got an early live stream. We got Russing in chat early. Got somebody, a sweaty tryhard's been up since 5. David Dean, also Parker in chat. And yeah, no boards right now. They did have a Prize Picks board up, but we'll be getting those any second. We got Antonio Blake here as well. And yeah, nice to have the morning crew for one of these live streams. It's been a minute since we've gotten up early, had a little bit of coffee in the cup. I've already had 2 cups of coffee, so I'm already wired at this point. Already on to water, actually, hydrating after that diuretic with the coffee. But let's get after it. We got he said Meissner is still 6%. Is wild to you. I have no idea what that means. You said the fact Meissner is still under 6%. I'm assuming you're talking DFS. If you're talking DFS, man, you're at the wrong live stream. This is the prop and betting side, but hey, glad to have you regardless. You said minus 800 yesterday's tournament is kicking your ass. Hey, I guess that's why you got rounds 3 and 4. It's been a good week for mine, so maybe you'll have your good days in rounds 3 and 4. It's got Ross up here. He said, nice haircut. I appreciate that. He said, they've confused. Have they put out tee times? No, Parker. I guess you're way behind on things. We'll catch people up if that's the case. Guys, the golf did not finish till this morning. In fact, it finished about 4 or 5 minutes ago. So no, they don't have the tee times out, man. So check out the PJ Tourcom's Twitter if you need to catch up on the weather situation. But yeah, they're just getting all that together right now. He said, is Cam Young running away with this one? I don't know about that. Cam Young, not known as a stallion. He's not Scotty Scheffler. So I don't know if I'd be worried about that quite yet. Is he in first place? Sure. I actually love to see that for Cam. I'm a big Cam Young fan, but he's far from one at this point. He said, course seems super wet. Yep, we'll talk about that. It actually played harder this morning. So that's going to be part of what we talk about here. We got Anthony in chat, also Ed. And yeah, you said they can't believe they locked it at 10:30. Well, they're starting in about 10 minutes. So they had to lock it at 10:30, man. I know some of you guys are maybe annoyed by the situation, but that's just what it is. There's no way around it. They had to delay play. They're starting in like 5 to 10 minutes. There's no way around it. He said, can't believe your Rye second round leader is at plus 900. That's a hell of a bet, by the way. Yeah, I can't believe that lost either. You had Cam take that from you, but still pretty solid bet, I would say. You had Ricky. You said he disappointed you, but you're looking at Cam Young for both rounds. Yeah, I could see him winning. Ricky did disappoint, but at least he made the cut for you. He's -3, so he's going to be playing today. So what's the day? What's the play? We'll get to that, man. Be a little bit patient. We've got a whole live stream ahead. If you're here just for the plays and getting out of here, then pick another live stream. That's not what this is. Are there any unders playable? Yeah, we'll mention that. He said, is it going to be preferred lies? No idea. I think it's 50-50. I'd honestly say that there's a coin flip chance on that. They only got about 0.7 inches of rain, so that normally puts it right at that 50-50 mark. If they get over an inch of rain, it's usually like a 100% chance that they'll go with lip clean in place. If it's only like a quarter to a half an inch, usually like 0% chance that they do so. So it's kind of like right in between those two right now. So we'll have to see. I would say if it's like a Linksy style course, a sand-based golf course, they probably wouldn't need it, but it's a Parkland style course, so they might need to. Cam Young, Florida man, let's go. Yeah, I love myself some Cam Young. He's from New York originally, but I think he's a transplant down to Florida. Kim Kardashian wet this morning. It's a good way to put it. Yeah, the Sibu Kim 4-putt was crazy. I saw a screenshot of it. I didn't get to see it live or anything, but anytime you 4-putt from 20 feet, that's crazy. Should you start Dak or Tua? Oh, we're talking NFL already, Wayne? Yeah, I know. Probably a tongue-in-cheek comment from the DFS stuff you're getting before, but yeah, dude, I can't wait for NFL. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. Preseason, I completely unplug. If you guys know I do NFL content here, you won't see a single preseason comment from me. I think it's just silly. I think it's as degenerate as it gets if you're playing preseason DFS, but looking forward to the season nonetheless, of course. Okay, you're here for the show. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We'll get to the plays eventually. He said Palm Beach, Cam Young. Hey, you're up in Jacksonville with Ludwig. You've got a few guys in Jacksonville. A lot of people that play out of TPC Sawgrass, so you guys are spoiled up there. And let's get into this. He said any slip cash yesterday? I had a few cash, but I don't know. It depends on which ones you tailed by, man. And look, we got a hater in the chat already. Let's just get him out of here. Okay, let's get this thing going. So let's talk about the scoring average so far. So this morning, it actually played over par, which I did not expect to happen. I thought that after the rain would come through, that it would play a lot easier, and that was not the case. And the reason for that, at least from my knowledge, is that it was so soft out there that people could not control their spin. You had people spinning it off the greens. The greens are raised at these Donald Ross golf courses. It's kind of like Pinehurst, but not as extreme. I mean, at Pinehurst, they call them the turtle shell greens, but at this golf course, they're raised about 5 to 7 yards. So if you're not controlling your spin, if they're right next to some of those troublesome slopes, they're going to cause a lot more problem than, let's say, at a flatter golf course. So it was that combined with a little bit of rain in the morning. They actually don't have the Saturday forecast on here. I was kind of hoping that they'd show us what they observed this morning, but it was rainy. It was a little windy, also cold in the morning. But as the day goes on, I don't think it's going to play that difficult. So if we take a look at the averages before the morning wave happened, this was through the play that finished last night. It played to about a -1 scoring average. And then this morning, it played to about an even par scoring average. So I don't think it's going to play to this even par. I think it's going to be like closer to this -1, because after the rain gets out of there, they're not going to have to play through that drizzle, which can really cause players problems. And then on top of that, they're also not going to have to deal with as much spin. The course is going to dry out. You're not going to be ripping balls back 15 to 20 yards. It's going to become a lot more playable. And I know we had the question about lift, clean, and place. I honestly am not expecting that. I'm not projecting for that at this point. But if they do go with lift, clean, and place, that would further make the scoring average easier. So I really don't have a good idea of what I think the scoring average is going to be. I even said that to my Patreon members of the first slip that I entered, that I think it's going to be -1 to -1.5, but I can't say that with any semblance of confidence, because lift, clean, and place could impact that by a half a stroke to a stroke in either direction. Plus, the uncertainty of it playing even par this morning, I mean, I did not expect that to happen, adds in a little bit of variance there as well. So for the sake of this live stream, for the sake of any props that we're going to enter, we're going to play with about a -1 scoring average. Worth noting that it's not just the conditions, lift, clean, and place, that could impact the scoring, but also the cut line. You have all those scrubs, the guys that are towards the bottom end of the board that are not going to be teeing it up today, I should say, normally tomorrow, which will probably impact the scoring average by a half a stroke, maybe a quarter of a stroke in the positive direction. So it's a kind of a hard one to narrow down, but these birdie averages, bogey averages, if it's going to play to about that -1 scoring average, this does give us a pretty good sense of what to expect. And the pin locations will be a little bit different. We're going to go through those as well. But if it does play about -1, expect around a 4.25 birdie average. Excuse me there. A bogey average is about 2.75 to maybe 2.85 per round. And then the fairway and green averages, I actually think those might improve a little bit. I mean, the soft conditions, it'll be easier to hit fairways. You're not going to get as much rollout. Greens as well, as long as the winds aren't too bad, it'll probably be about 13, maybe like 13.25 per round, but a pretty good idea of what to expect. And if we take a look at the weather in particular, and switch it to the HRRR model, so it's the most accurate, what you'll see is that the winds are supposed to die down in the very late part of the day. You can see they have some rain that is still hitting the area right now, but that's expected to end about 1 p.m. And I'm not exactly sure when the first tee time is going to be. They're still trying to decide that right now. But the last tee time is probably going to be about 1 p.m., which is when that rain is supposed to start. And after the rain stops, when you have the winds supposed to die down as well, I think you're going to see these guys really improve that scoring average. So maybe at first, it does play closer to like that even par or even like -0.5 scoring average. But I think the later tee time that you have today, maybe the better for this kind of a slate, because if you're going off super late, which by the way, it's not like a normal slate where the guys going off late are going to just be the leaders. It'll be the leaders and the players that just made the cut, because the way that they do tee times on a situation where they have threesomes off of both tees is they start from the middle and move out. So your players that are going off first, which I think could be the slightly harder side of it, are going to be the guys towards the middle end of the leaderboard. But that's part of the reason I think the scoring is going to improve as well, is the wins shouldn't be as significant as what they were playing in this morning. And then I think actually as the golf course dries out, which a lot of times it kind of go the opposite direction, I think it's going to play easier as it tends to dry out throughout the day. So we'll keep an eye on lift, clean, and place. We'll keep an eye on those potential tee times. In fact, let me actually bring up the PGA Tour website real quick. I do want to have that up so that we can see if they go with lift, clean, and place. We can also see an exact look at these tee times. So one second here. It looks like the round already started. So this is what I mean, right? This is why we're going live right now, because they're starting it right away. First tee time is 10:35, so 5 minutes after their expected start time. And let's see, Jordan Spieth was one of the first groups off, so kind of unfortunate that we're not going to be able to bet him. And yeah, we're not going to be able to see the lift, clean, and place based on this. But let's see, maybe PGA Tourcom's Twitter tweeted it out or something like that. I don't know. If they didn't tweet it, it's probably not lift, clean, and place. Let's see. So yeah, nothing quite yet. They have the groups and starting times right there. If they give us an update and they say that it's ball in hand, add another half a stroke to a stroke under par on top of that. So we'll keep a track on these. We'll keep an eye on the tee times as well. Let's see if these sites have posted anything on the pick'em boards, because we're going to talk tee times and pin locations until then if they haven't. I know that Prize Picks had a board up, so they'll probably repost them any second. They just have to upload the tee times and get them all signed so that they can re-upload them. They're not going to have a whole board up without their tee times, right? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And same thing with the Underdog side over here. So we're going to go through the pin locations. It'll give us maybe 5 minutes to take a look at those. Also get a better idea of what conditions are going to look like. And then we'll have those props to go through. But there was an over and an under on strokes I already took on Prize Picks. So I know we had questions about how to exactly attack this board. I think it depends on the projections. Like there was a 67.5 on Meissner that I played for the over. That felt like a no-brainer, as he's about an average to below average player in this field. I thought the scoring average is -1 to -1.5. So that's about 69 to 68.5 strokes. So that was a clear value for the Meissner at 67.5. And then I took an under on Michael Thorbjornsen. So hopefully they can just repost the board and we can take those two together. But Thorbjornsen, they had it 68.5. So, that could be the potential scoring average, right? -1 to -1.5 would be about that exact kind of number. And Thorbjornsen on the other side, compared to a Meissner has missed 5 of his last 6 cuts. Thorbjornsen's been one of the top 10 form players over the last 2 months on tour. So, you have an above average guy that's at the field average. And then you have a player that's average to below average that was projected better than that field average. I thought that was a little bit of a mistake. So that was the first slip I entered. Obviously, we don't have that up there right now. So let's look at these pin locations and then catch up on that. So hole number 1, you can see, look at that. Cam Young ended up birdieing it the day before, but it's a middle left pin location about right here. It's actually not that far from where it was today. I don't think it's going to be that much different scoring average wise. This slope to the left of it could be troublesome. You could see people kind of spinning it off the green, but should be pretty scoreable right there. Let's go to 2. So next hole would be a front right pin location. That would be about right here. I would say easier than today. I kind of mentioned this left side being tricky because of the fact that slope would make it hard to get close, but this front right pin location, especially with soft greens, you're going to have enough room to spin it back. So I think 2 is going to be significantly easier there. Let's see. Anyone talking about the boards yet? By the way, let me know when they post the boards. That would be great to be able to go through those. He said, what did Keith do on hole 15? I didn't see it rushing, so you'd have to let me know. We got Ross down there. Yeah, Siwoo, he said, did get he said he contributed to the over par scoring average. Yeah, he for sure did. They're not the same hole locations. They're going to change them. That's what we're going to go through now. He said, Hoey just teed off in the fairway, so we'll see if it's short preferred lies. Yeah, dude, let me know. Let's see. Anyone say that yet? Let's see, how long does it take them to drop matchups? It depends on the sports book. Usually they're pretty quick. He said, might be a great time to get on the round scores. Yep, they're not up there quite yet, though. He said, Spieth, Pavon, and Hoey are already teeing off. Yep, we know that. Say, does cleaning your ball really have that much of an effect, or are you confused on lift, clean, and place? Yeah, man, it's sometimes a 2-stroke difference from round to round, so it has a massive impact. A few reasons for that. One, around the green, you can give yourself a perfect lie. It's not just that you clean the golf ball, but you also get the place aspect. That's really where that advantage comes from. You can put it on the exact part of the grass that you want to. You can almost tee it up, right? If you put it on a tuff of grass, you can make it the most perfect lie in human history. And maybe if you don't golf that much, it doesn't seem like a big deal. But if you're any sort of solid golfer, somebody that's close to a single-digit handicap, that sort of thing, you know the impact of that. I mean, if I could spin the golf ball perfectly every single time, I could have a tour level short game. I'm a pretty good short game player to begin with, so it's easier for me to say that. But perfect lie around the green, you put spin on the golf ball, you can stop it even down a downslope or even with a short-sided chip, that kind of thing. So yeah, massive impact. It's mostly when you're missing greens where it's helping players out. But even in the fairway, when you're able to clean the golf ball, give yourself a perfect lie. I know that it sounds crazy, give yourself a perfect lie in the fairway, but it's true. The fairway, you can have a ball sitting down, you can be in a little bit of a wet spot, whatever the case may be. Being able to pick exactly where you put it, and you get, I think it's a club length in either direction. So as long as you're not closer to the hole, right? It's a club length semicircle from this second from behind the ball. That means that if you're on a, let's say a lie where the ball is above your feet, right? Everyone hates that, or even worse, the ball's below your feet. You can move it that one club length, and sometimes it's not below your feet anymore. So it has a massive, massive impact. Yeah, half a stroke at least, sometimes even 2 strokes, depending on the golf course. He said, how often do the early rounds play lower? I have no idea what you mean there, man. He said, no one besides Im shot low on Thursday in the late groups. I don't think that's true. He said only somebody like Im on that wave shot low. Yeah, it's just not true, man. They shoot low on the mornings most times on tour, and I frankly don't really understand your question. So maybe you can expand on that, but yeah, no idea what you're saying, man. He said pretty much right away. Yep, DraftKings is pretty quick on those. Let's see. He said you're not going to get any lines on Prize Picks. That's not true, Parker. They had them up this morning. Yeah, if you're going to be a negative Nancy, I'm just banning you. We don't need those sort of people in the chat, dude. Like, if your idea of coming to a live stream is coming and bitching and complaining, go do that to your spouse or something. Like, frankly, we just don't give a fuck here, right? We're here to have fun. We're here to try and make some bets, not to cry and complain and have a bad day. We're here to have a good time, okay? So that's what we're going to do. If you're going to be a negative Nancy, I'll send you on your way. You can, like I said, complain to your spouse. That's not what we're here for. We're here to have fun. We're not here to be your therapist in chats. He said, thank you for turning you on to Prize Picks. You want 6 for 6 in MLB? Jeez Louise, 6 for 6 on MLB flexes. I'm not sure if you ended up hitting all of them for like 5-0 or whatever the case is on that, but that's a hell of a day, my dude. Yeah, guys, let me know if it's left clean in place. And a lot of you guys were saying that he's already in the fairway. Let's see, last tee times 11:47 Central. Okay, that's good to know. Let's see. He said Underdog just paid you on your slips. Yep. They usually post when DraftKings does. So that's the thing with Underdog. They just copy and paste the sports book. So when DraftKings posts, that's when we'll get the Underdog ones. Let's see. Most of the guys on the leaderboard have really poor pressure tool rankings on Data Golf. Yep, that's a good point. That's a good shout on that one. Is the ball is not in hand. Okay. FanDuel just gave lines. By the way, let's refresh on these sites. So the pin locations, by the way, I went through them before. They're moving day pins. So we're just going to cut it off short because I want to make sure we can go through lines. They're as easy as they could possibly get. Like 7's the easiest pin that you get at that hole. 8, 9 are comically easy pins. 10 is as straightforward as you get. 12's easier than it was today. 12, it was in that lower shelf in between the 2 slopes. Now it's up on the top shelf, which sounds harder, but it's actually easier at that hole. 13's easier. 15's a super simple hole. 16 is infinitely easier than today. I mean, you get the point, right? 18's the easiest pin that you get at that hard finishing par 4. So let's see if we have any lines. So Underdog hasn't posted quite yet. Let's see if Prize Picks has come along yet. I'm assuming that it's going to take them some time to add those tee times. So yeah, maybe a little bit of wishful thinking that they would have already had those posted. But when we get those guys, there's going to be overs and unders that make sense. If we get 67.5s on scrubs, I'll be fading those just like I did with Meissner. If we get studs at 68.5, like a Thor Bjornsson, ideally even better players like Thor Bjornsson, I'm using the stud word lightly there, right? He's not the best player on tour, right? It's not pretend that he's like the best guy that we have in this field. But if you give me a top 5, a top 10 player at 68.5 strokes, then I'm going to be all about that when we get these. So let's see, still nothing over here. We're going to be refreshing this quite a bit until we get those lines. And if they don't post them, then so be it. I guess we'll have to go to the DraftKings and do our stuff, but we'll see what they do. He said Meissner finished well here last year, though. Yeah, that's okay. That's one data point. I hate to be that guy, but 1 year sample size or one event sample size doesn't mean anything. I like to look at how they've played over the last few months, right? He's missed 5 of his last 6 cuts. That's enough said. The guy is an average player at best and usually below average, right? You're missing the cut. That means you're below average player that week. He's done that 5 of the last 6 weeks. So that means a whole lot more to me. You're saying hole 1 was playing easy for the better players yesterday. Yeah, I don't think it depends on their talent level. I think it just played easy for the field. DraftKings has props up. Let's go over there then. So we can just take a look at the lines, especially because Underdog's going to copy and paste them. They almost base their board entirely off of what DraftKings does. So we could use this to get a baseline of where they're going to post stuff. Look at that. Jordan birdied the first hole. It's good stuff. My guy. Okay, you guys are absolute legends. By the way, let me know if it's lift, clean, and place. I'm guessing it's not, right? If you guys probably would have shouted that out at this point, let me actually refresh the PGA Tour.com's Twitter again, because that's really important information. We need to know if it's lift, clean, and place. They still haven't tweeted anything out, so I'm under the assumption as of right now that it's not going to be lift, clean, and place. See, steal for the Cameron Young under 68.5. Ooh, I like that. Yes, yes, yes. So let's start looking at these lines. I do not agree with it at all. I do think that it's going to play a little harder for the first couple hours. But when that wind dies off, I mean, Cam Young's in the last group out. Yeah, plus money at 68.5. I 100,000% agree with you on that one. So I can co-sign that 100%. You said no hat, fresh cut. Yeah, I figured I'd wear the no hat after getting the haircut yesterday. I've got a wedding to get to tonight, guys. So by the way, the live streams, the content for round 4 are going to be a lot later than normal. In fact, the prop stream might be a morning one again. There's a really good chance of that. My best buddy's getting married. So starts at 5, the party. I'm going to be there for quite a bit. DFS live stream will be, I think, 11 p.m. Eastern time is what I'm shooting for. But I will tweet out the exact starting time on that. But yeah, I appreciate that, Nick. And that's the reason for it is I've got pictures and all of that at the wedding, and I'm going to look good for my buddy, so might as well, right? I said all the leaders were in the early groups Thursday. That's not true, bro. You keep saying these like generalized statements and then applying them to the whole field. It's not true. There are plenty of guys at the top that were from both waves. That's just we'll have to you can fact check that yourself, but we're not even going to waste the time on it because I know it's not true. The 3 balls are out. Okay, sweet. Let's see. So today's an attack the strokes kind of day compared to birdies and other props. They just don't have anything posted. So the reason why I was mentioning the strokes props is Prize Picks, when they had their board up earlier, it was only strokes and they only had 8 guys posted. So that's why we're talking about that. It's not really strategy based on that. It's more so just what was available. He said he's pretty weak. So who was? No idea who was weak, but you can let me know. Shoot us props for round 4 on Patreon while at the wedding. No, I'm not going to be doing that, Golf Kid. I'm going to be focusing on the wedding. But yeah, I know you were kidding there, obviously. And he said, wow, Meister's at 69.5 now. Exactly. So that's the kind of odds that we were getting. And I know the guy in chat was like, oh, why would you fade him, right? Yeah, it's because he's 2 strokes higher, right? That's why we would fade him. So obviously got value there. I'm curious where they have Thor. They might not have a Thor prop posted, but let's see. I guess lots of authors. So yeah, no Thor Bjornsson prop that was up there. But they have Kitayama at 68.5, and he was minus 130 under. Thor is maybe a slightly worse player. The only reason I say that is Kitayama is coming off a win, right? So like you've got to give him credit for that. However, if he was minus 130 under, he'd probably be at the worst about even money. And, you know, kind of like I was saying with this Cam Young line before, I don't agree with these sports books. I think that the line should be a little bit lower than they are. And that's the same thing with Meissner. Yeah, like, you know, if they gave me a Meissner line at 69.5 now, I would bet the under. Right. I'm not against saying that. Like, that's 100% true. 2 strokes higher now at 69.5. I would play as under, but you know, at 67.5, it's a completely different kind of scenario, which is why I take it that way. So let's take a look at some of the other lines that they have on here. In general, these seem a little bit aggressive. They had Aaron Wright 67.5 on Prize Picks. I didn't enter him over or under, but at minus 160 towards the over, plus 110 towards the under, like I might actually be tempted to play that under at that plus money. Let's see. Let's look at some of the scoring too, right? That's the beauty of being able to do this live stream on like while plays going on. You see Jordan Spieth made a birdie. A lot of these other guys even par. Let me look at the back 9. Let's see what they did on 10 for that first group. So looked like it was playing kind of long, right? 247 drive. I know they probably laid up. That was the case. They weren't hitting drivers, but 272. I'm assuming that was a 3-wood, something like that. And let's see, did they all hit the green? One of them hit the green. Geez, the other 2 ended up just being off the surface. Let's look at hole 2. Let's take a look at how that's playing. That also looks like it's playing pretty long. David Skins, though, not one of the longer players in the field, did get it out there, 320, so maybe not so much. And let's go to the front side. Let's see what Jordan's group's doing. So there's Hoey at holes 420. That's a layup hole, so we're not going to learn that much about how much these fairways are really rolling out. Okay, just didn't really learn that much from looking at those. Let's see if they moved up any tee boxes. That's always something we can look at too. Not really something we can usually look at ahead of time. That tee box is the same. That tee box is the same. And by the way, we're looking at that white dot. That's the tee box. If you guys aren't familiar, there's, you know, back tee box again. So they don't have it loaded in for 7, 8, and 9 yet. Let's go to the back 9. So normal tee box, normal tee box. normal tee box. Sometimes they move up 12 on moving day, so that was one to check out. Let's go 13 normal tee box, 14 normal tee box, 15 same thing. And then just like the front 9, the last 3 holes aren't loaded in quite yet. Let's see. Yeah. Well, I guess 17 is. I guess they just haven't done 16 at this point. 18's also loaded in and is the back tee box. Let's go to these 2 as well. So yeah, I guess they're still waiting on those par 3s. Maybe that means they're going to move up the tee boxes at holes like 7 or 16 when they don't have it loaded in quite yet. Sometimes that's because they're trying to move the GPS marker and move the shot tracker to the other spot. It's like at 7-2. 7, that could even be a hole that they move up. That's the front left pin location, by the way, at 7. That was one of the ones that I said was way easier than what it was for today. So yeah, after seeing these pins, especially I'd rather see some scoring of these guys going out there and making some birdies. That would really confirm this even more. But let's look at the second group out. What's the Finau group up to? Thorbjornsen's looking like a par, but let's look at these other guys. Actually, I shouldn't say that. He could still totally bogey that from 8 feet. Shame on him for 3-putting after hitting the green. That's all his fault. Can't really blame the golf course for that. Let's look at this Bridgman group too. So Bridgman's looking like a par. Let's see what these other 2 are up to. Yeah, looking like pars across the board, huh? At least from what I was seeing there. Yeah. So scoring not really lighting off quite yet. Maybe still because those winds haven't died down yet, but in a couple hours really could be in our advantage. Let's refresh these, see if we've done enough stalling to see if we can actually get some lines to enter. If not, we're just going to focus on the Draftkings side because it's going to give you guys a good idea of how to attack those prop boards once we get them. So going through these a bit more, if they post guys like Ben Griffin at 68.5, like I am nuking that under. I'm assuming though, because of that sportsbook line juice, that we probably get them at 68 flat. It's typically like what a set like Prize Picks would go to. If they post them at 68, I would actually play that under. They had them at 67 strokes this morning on Prize Picks. That's where they had them up there at that sort of number. So yeah, if you want to take them at that flat number, a stroke higher, I think that would make quite a bit of sense. Like even these guys like Davis Thompson, like these mid to slightly above average players, Echeverria, same thing. I think they should be even money at the 68.5 mark. So I just think the projections in general are maybe not as optimistic as they should be. And let's go to some of the other categories now. So that's the strokes. Let's go to birdies or better. I'm assuming based on their pricing that these are also a little bit lower compared to the first few days. And yeah, they've got a lot of these guys juiced under at 4.5. In fact, Ben Griffin at 4.5 flat, if I could just take him for the over, even money, like even on the pick'em sites with like the -130 implied odds, I could see myself playing that. Yeah, it seems pretty straightforward. These books adjusted to the kind of averages that we had this morning, but I don't think that they're looking at the full picture. I don't think that they're considering the fact that the rain's going to stop, that the winds are going to die down at some point. And then, yeah, still no confirmation on lift clean in place. At this point, I'm assuming that it's not. I mean, if there was lift clean in place, then these would be drastically off. But let's look at the fairway and green averages. I'm kind of curious to see where they have these at. So McIntyre even money at 8.5. I love the over on some of these. Like McIntyre 8.5 feels like a mistake. The average before they halted play was 8.67. Now it rained. It's going to be easier to hold the short stuff, right? You're not going to be bounding through fairways. There's no way that he should be juiced towards the under. That makes no sense. He's a top 50 driving accuracy player on tour. That's just a clear misprice in my opinion. But let's see which other ones on here could potentially make sense. These guys at 9.5, I think getting to 10, like unless you're an elite tier driver, could be asking a bit much. But like an Aaron Rai at 10.5, he's the #1 driving accuracy player on tour. Like I'm sure that one's maybe even a little bit soft as well. My favorite though, out of all of these, for sure, is this McIntyre one. I'm just realizing he's probably a little bit lower because he started, and I'm assuming he missed the first hole, right? If the odds are that terrible, because there's no way that they mispriced him that much. Let's see. In fact, did he miss the first fairway? Yeah, right. That's what happened. That's why he's down at 8.5. I was going to say, if it was pre-round and he was at that number, it's one of the worst lines that I've ever seen. So it makes a little bit more sense now that we contextualize it that way. But when we look at somebody like a Ben Griffin here at that -130 towards the over, that one can make a little bit more sense. He hasn't started yet. He's an average to slightly above average driver. And I think with those wet conditions, it could go up to like 8.75 to maybe even 9 fairways per round, which is significant. And it's not even just the conditions, it's also the field strength. The cut line, getting some of the lower tier players out of there, is going to help people with hitting those. And yeah, maybe Prize Picks and Underdog just aren't going to give us boards. They're lazy, I guess. They're not waking up and posting them. Underdog's got the easiest job of all of them, though. So I was really kind of expecting them to post something, because they just copy and paste Draftkings. All they do is they take the CLV, they take the lines, and they upload them with the multipliers over here. Kind of disappointing that they haven't done that quite yet. Let's take a look at the greens, I guess. Let's see. So 13.5 and minus 180 over. What in the world? I mean, yeah, I think they're going to hit greens, but minus 180, almost minus 200 for the over. Out of principle, I almost want to take the under on that, because that's outrageous. Giving them nearly a 65% implied hit rate on a 13.5 line. Like, if it was 12.5, sure, but 13.5, like, oh boy, that feels a little aggressive, if I have to say so myself. The average, by the way, to go back to that, was 13 per round before this morning's play. So at the 13.5 mark, an elite tier player, sure, I could see taking them at 13.5 at even money, but minus 180? Like, what are we doing here? I think if you're going to take it over at 13.5, do it maybe on a Cam Young. I know he hasn't been elite at hitting greens this year, but he's got the late tee time. That should be a little bit more ideal than some of those earlier starters. That would be what I would do for the greens. And perhaps maybe it's wishful thinking at this point that we're going to get pick'em lines, but if they posted them at like 13, maybe they bumped them down because of that juice. That could be another spot to take it over. Like Max McGreevy, he's a decent iron player. If you gave me him at 13 flat, I'd be taking that. But I think we're stuck with the sportsbook lines. So I guess we'll mostly comment on those. My favorite's probably the Cam Young over. I do think conditions are going to be easier than what they're projecting for, so maybe fades aren't the best. But this line just does not make sense. I love Ben Griffin more than most people do. I bet him outright this week. He's one of my core plays. He's played well at this course. Like, I kind of understand it, but they took it way too far. There's no way in hell they should have guys at that kind of line. Let's look at the bogey lines. So the average was 2.86. I think it's going to stay about the same, especially because I have it about a -1 projected scoring average. So if that's the case, like, guys like Griffin should be juiced towards the under. Same thing with Aaron Rye. Joel Damon, though, being juiced way towards the over. Like, I think they still aren't positive enough on these players. Like, Damon is worse than average, but should he be almost -200 towards the over? Probably not. Probably something closer to -150. It'd be a little bit more reasonable on that. And they got Cam Young at 3.5 bogeys or worse. And he is -200 under. So they have him juiced about as much as humanly possible in that direction. But even then, that's disrespectful. That line's probably a little bit too high. So hopefully it gives you guys an idea of how to attack these boards. I think what we're going to do until we potentially get a pick'em boards is we're going to go through the matchups and stuff like that, because those are going to be locking over the next hour or so, hour and a half. So let's see if we can find some value for those before those lock. And I know a little bit of a sub-ideal slate, guys, but is what it is. Everyone has the same board to deal with, so we've got to make the best that we can. 11 p.m. Eastern, you said animals, you'll catch it in the morning. Yeah, it's going to be a late one, Nick. I've got to be at the wedding, so it's going to be later than normal. He said Jack joined. We got 67.5. Yep. That's the kind of value that you get at times on the Patreon. It's pretty sweet. He said Jordan missed hole 2. Okay, missed fairway as well. Yeah, still no note on the lift clean and place stuff. Let's see. This guy says, I hate to prove you're wrong about the tee times and stuff, but dude, you're wrong. I've gone through it before. Trust me, you can say what you want, but it's not going to prove me wrong. The guys that went off early on the one wave are literally not all at the top of the board. Like, I did projections ahead of time. I did showdown stuff. I'm really on top of that kind of stuff. It wasn't the case this week. He said, Rise at 68 at better. I think that's a good projection to take for the under. Like, he's juiced for the over, so I understand why they have him at 68 strokes. But earlier this morning, they had him at 67.5 on Prize Picks, and I thought that it was a pretty fair line. So I like the under at that sort of number. And he said, yeah, you're making yourself look dumb. He kind of is. but it's okay. He can say what he wants. It's America. It's a free country. Unless he's saying stuff that's just like bringing down the chat and being, nonsense, I'm not going to ban him or anything. He said Olsen missed an easy ass par putt. Sounds about right. He's that level of player. He said Griffin's not using the driver, so it has to be him. Yeah, man, those fairway lines, let's go back to that. That adds on top of that. I guess we don't even have to bring out the projection, but he was like even money 8.5. Just another reason to take his over. It's anytime you're not hitting driver, you're going to have a higher fairway percentage, so that helps as well. Manicero misses the cut to ruin your 6 of 6s. Hate to hear that, Brendan. I guess you'll have to take it down in Showdown instead. Better. Let me take a look. I haven't actually played them before, and you're saying it's legal in Florida. Good call on that. I'll bring it up. Let's see. Yeah, Antonio's pointing out the counter side of that to what Fractal was saying before. And yeah, I'll just leave it there. And I don't think he was trying to hate Antonio. I think he just legitimately thought he was right about that. And he's not. It's okay, though. Ben Griffin's at 68 strokes and 4.5 birdies. Ooh, I like that a lot. Let's actually bring up better then. So I don't know if I have it downloaded. I used to. I do, actually. Okay, look at that. I don't think it was legal in Florida when I first downloaded it. So I downloaded it for like no reason. But let's see. Okay, you can use my location while I'm using the app. And yeah, you're not tracking it for other purposes. Fuck off. Anytime, by the way, you're on an app or something like that, and they say, oh, can be tracked or whatnot, tell them to F off. As somebody that's an electrical engineer, computer engineering minor, somebody that works in the tech space or used to, that's something that is important. They don't need that information. They're only going to do negative with it for the most part. And let's see what they have on there. So yeah, Ben Griffin, 68 strokes. I love that for an under. I know we were mentioning that one as a potential play earlier. Let me see if they have any fade value. And I have no idea how their payout multipliers work on there. So no idea if it's a site where like if you correlate it, you're going to get negative multipliers. I'm assuming so, right? All the sites pretty much do it at this point. But Cam Young, 4.5 birdies. Like, yeah, I could see taking that for an over. Let's see if you took that with, are you not able to enter the same stat category twice? Can create an advantage, which results in a multiplier not increasing much. Okay, so that's them saying that they have correlation rules. Add edge combo. Okay, what does that look like? 2.5x payout. So at least they warn you, right? You put in 2 correlated props. At least better is letting you know that you're getting the less payout. But let's throw in Griffin, I guess. Griffin's about a lock, by the way. He's got 20 minutes, so we're going to have to be pretty quick about it if we enter something with him. I mean, look at the rye under. So what would that enter? Is that also, yeah, it's also an edge combo. So it's the same thing as these other sites, right? If you take 2 positive stance plays, they're going to ding you. If you take 2 negative stance plays, they're going to do it the other way. And that's only 2.5x as well. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. The 2.5x payout for correlated slips is pretty trash. Maybe that's why I never ended up really downloading or playing better, is because that's pretty horrendous. But they have Cam Young at 68.5 strokes. I'd rather play him with the plus 110 that you can get on the sports books. But at 4.5 birdies, that does feel like a pretty fair line to be taking on these sort of sites. So yeah, check out better if you guys want to. I'm probably not going to play there with these sort of rolls. 2.5x for a correlated slip is horseshit. I mean, I know PrizePicks does that when you're taking 2 fades together. That's just like what they personally decide to choose. But like Underdog's 2.7x is 2.75x for 2 positive stance plays on PrizePicks. That's it's kind of a tough scene, I would say. Yeah, I think the lines are pretty soft on that side. I would agree with you on that one. You said you're at 68.5 and Griffin at 68. You think that they're off at those lines. And yeah, you're saying Im at 68.5, not I am. I like that. I think even 68.5 on Sanjay can make a lot of sense. Not sure what the sportsbook line juice was on that one, but it could make sense. Yeah, PrizePicks could be scared, especially after what they posted this morning, right? The Meissner being off by 2 strokes maybe scared them for that. Look at that. Jordan getting the job done. Love to see it. I bet Jordan this week, by the way. He's way too far back to win, so I'm not even going to get my hopes up. But getting into that top 10, that'd be kind of nice for Jordy. And yeah, no lift clean in place since you guys haven't told us at this point. He said, do you think that there's a lot of value here? Scott is plus 300 to win his group for the tournament over Kitayama and Clinton. He said Scott has to play well to make the playoffs. Yeah, I'm not against that one. And I think they're all in like the same range score-wise, right? I mean, Scott just made the cut. Same thing with Scott. And I'm assuming, Kitayama is the one you have to worry about there, JTS, is because Kitayama is starting so far ahead of those other 2. And I know he fell off a little bit towards the end of his round, but he's at -7. You're essentially asking yourself is, can he make up those 3 shots on Kitayama over the next 2 days? I'm not sure plus 300 is like massive value to do that sort of thing, but I think it's pretty fair, especially if you want to play that narrative of him getting into the top 70. I'm okay with that too. You're looking at Kirk on FanDuel at 68.5, seems like a fair projection. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Like, I don't know if I'd say that's massive value at plus 105, because like when we're comparing that plus 105 to plus 100 on Cam Young or plus 110, I guess it depends what sportsbook that you have. I mean, I'd rather have the Cam Young. That number, right? Cam Young's a better player at this point. He's in better form this week, better form heading in. That's why I lean that direction. But yeah, I think that's a fair line. Hell, if you wanted to lean towards the under, I wouldn't give you that much pushback on that sort of thing. He said, yeah, not betting against that kid Clanton. Yeah, don't bet against Clanton. That's my guy. I play golf, a lot of golf with Luke. Not as much these days. Used to play with him a couple years back during COVID, especially. But he's a good kid, man of Christ, just as I am. So just nothing I can say bad about him. He's just a good kid and easy guy to root for as well. But let's go through these matchups. So we've got a few of these that are locking, and I've already locked some of them that are locking soon. Let's see if we can find some heavily plus money people to mix in. And I don't see any here that really are catching my eye. Like Phillips, I love Carl Phillips, but he is so volatile. I don't know if I could do so, especially against Ben Griffin and JT Poston. Those are two guys that just kill it around this course. So that's kind of a murderer's row. So I'll definitely stay away from that one. Michael Kimbo Hostler, though, that's not a murderer's row. A little Lanto Griffin sprinkle at plus 230. Now, we'll see what else we have to go through there, but I'm not completely against that, especially because Michael Kim and Bo Hostler, not to talk too much shit, but I'm not scared whatsoever of those two. I've got Adam Scott Wallace versus Power. I'm a little bit scared of Adam Scott, so let's keep that one going. There's the Kitayama, Thor, and Mao. Mao being the big plus 220 at least catches my eye a little bit. It feels like that's disrespectful given that he's been in pretty solid form, but Kitayama, Thor also hitting the ball pretty well. Let's keep this going. So Griot versus Simpson and Cam Davis. Yeah, Griot should be the favorite there. Griot's been playing the most consistent golf. Webb also can't sleep on him. He's got one of the best track records out of anyone at the Wyndham Championship. Chesson Hadley, now he's got a good shots gained profile. He also plays really well this time of year, usually clutches up to keep his tour card. Alex Noren being plus 100 is laughable. So yeah, let's keep the Chesson Hadley one in there. He's almost plus 300. That is, the disrespect is real on my guy. And who else could be potentially mixing? Patalet plus 400. If I didn't cut my hair, maybe we'd go to my hair twin, Aaron, but now we couldn't look anything more different between us two. You got Fowler versus Whaley and Lipsky. That's probably a no thank you for me. Thompson versus Kirk and Molnax. Yeah, Molnax, love him to death, but he's been playing terribly over the last few months. Got Echeverria versus McCarty and Woodland. It's interesting to see when you have a close matchup between those three like that, but realistically, I don't see anyone that's worthy of being taken at plus 160 to plus 175. Remember that if they were even money across the board, you'd be getting plus 200 odds if they didn't have that implied juice. So, plus 175 isn't the regular. So unless you see one of these three players as like a clear favorite, then you probably shouldn't be playing them at those kind of odds. Same thing with this group here. Like, unless there's a clear favorite, you shouldn't be playing them as well. And I don't really see one out of those three. Rye versus Hubbard and Damon. I mean, we're really disrespecting our guy Damon that much. I do expect Rye to play ball, but plus 100 on a 3-ball, unless your name's Scotty Scheffler or Rory McIlroy, that's typically a little bit too much. You also have Hodges versus Fisk and Higgs. Those are the guys that just hardly made the cut. And then your final group, Sanjay versus Cam Young and Meissner. I mean, Cam Young is better than Sanjay right now. I mean, I don't really understand that, right? How is Cam Young the second favorite there? Now, plus 165, I don't necessarily think that's massive value at that sort of number, but I think he should be the favorite out of those three. So if you want to mix in a couple 3-balls, I'm okay with a little quarter to half a unit sprinkle on these three. But yeah, this isn't a slate I'm going to go overly heavy on, guys. I mean, you could probably tell at this point that, especially without the boards on Underdog and Prize Picks to enter, that it is what it is. Maybe enter a slip or two, maybe enter a prop or two for the next day, and see what we get for round number 4. So I think that's going to be it for the live stream. I will go over any of those questions that you've got for me in the chat. I will be seeing if they post props on like Underdog and Prize Picks. I was hoping that during the live stream at some point that we'd have those to go through. And unfortunately, they haven't blessed us with those boards. So if you're in a site that has, or state, I should say, that has DraftKings FanDuel, feel free to take advantage as much as you guys can. If not, and you can only enter matchups, then you have those as well. But let's see. Any last second questions to go through? LPGA said Hard Rock has the outright odds for the first time. Yeah, I'm not a big LPGA person. I don't watch it, so I can't really give you any information there. I try to stick to what I know, and if I don't know, I'm not afraid to say that. So yeah, I'll skip that just because I don't have that expertise. I would say for like the majors, sometimes I pay attention, but I haven't watched an LPGA event in like 6 months. So that's yeah, like I said, not something I'm as versed on. He said Mal over Hostler is almost even money. He said he's better in almost every metric. 100% agree with you on that. And I'm not sure which market where you can get them at even money, but if you can, I would play that in a heartbeat, like not even a thought about it. Just to show you guys why that would be the case, let me bring up Bet the Number. That's usually my go-to in looking at these matchups. So let's actually just do that right now. 1 second here. And without even looking at the stats, I know that you're right because Hostler's been shit outside of 1 week. And then you have Mao, who won, who's also been a lot more consistent. So let's go to the last 24 rounds. So last 24 rounds, Hostler's better around the green in putting, but it's not by that much. I mean, putting's 0.04 strokes around the green, which I could give 2 fucks about. How good somebody chips at a birdie fest like this. 0.17 strokes in that category. Yeah, give me Mal at even money, man. That's, I think, a pretty big misprice, I would say. Is Fowler still fighting to keep a playoff spot? You saw that he barely made the cut. I'm not sure. I think that he's inside the playoffs, to be honest. I don't think that he's really fighting for it, but I'll give you the answer real quickly. Let's see. Where's Ricky at? So he's number 61. He'll be good, especially since he made the cut and he's getting those points. It looks like he'll be playing the next week. He said Fowler 61st. Yep, he's good to go. And he said Im's only plus 130. Did they think that Kim Young will play more conservative? Nah, if it was Sunday, maybe that they incorporate that. But for a 3-ball bet, it's worth noting that conservative is okay. Like you can play conservative, still shoot -4 and win your matchup. It's more so when you're playing like first round leader or like the best round of the day props, where being conservative is more of an issue. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about that quite yet. Maybe on Sunday if he's still up a few strokes. And yeah, I appreciate that rushing. He said W stream, W Luke. Let's get after it for the next few days. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off there, guys. Again, apologize that it's a little bit of a weird slate, but that's what we have to deal with, right? You kind of dealt cards and, you're dealt your cards in life at some point and you got to play them the best that you can. Let's do it out here for moving day. So best of luck, guys. I'll see you guys for the streams later on. Again, much later for the round 4 content than normal. That includes my projections. My projections aren't going to be posted to about midnight. Averages, all of that. I've got life to attend to today, right? Wedding, your best buddies only get married once. And got to be there for them, of course. So I'll see you guys later on for that. We'll still be doing all of that just about 3 or 4 hours later than we typically do.